We know how the season ended. Those injuries really caught up. That defensive line was getting worn down, beaten, and abused. You need this kind of depth. You need these guys that can come in here, and if someone goes down, he can play inside. If someone goes down, he can play outside. There's no spot he can't fill on that defensive line. I think he will be a great player. What's going on, Lions Nation United? It's your boy Spencer Raxter here, and I know that you guys know that the Lions know that they're going to need some more help on the defensive line if they truly want to go after that Super Bowl next season. Now, we saw what the Philadelphia Eagles did to the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl this year, and that was just an absolute abusing of their offensive line. I know that Aiden Hutchinson got hurt. I know that Aleem McNeil got hurt. I know that depth pieces like John Kaminsky, like Mekhi Wingo, like Kyle Pecco, all of these guys are all injured on this defensive line so far this year. Levi Onwuzurike is a free agent. Pat O'Connor is a free agent. They've got some decisions to make, but in-house, as of right now, on paper, you got Josh Pascal still. You got Zadarius Smith. You obviously got Aiden Hutchinson and Lee McNeil that you both re-signed to big deals. And you've got DJ Reader. But they're still missing something. But they're still missing another piece. And I do think the Detroit Lions are going to add a splash defensive end at some point to pair with Aiden Hutchinson. You got crazy names out there like trade for Myles Garrett, trade for Max Crosby, trade for Trey Hendrickson. Obviously, those would all be the best case scenario. You bring in a guy that's already in the NFL, it's already solidified, that does what he does and goes after the quarterback, put him next to Aiden Hutchinson, and you have one of the most unstoppable duos in the NFL. But I think we need to look at things a little bit more realistically, and that's why I'm diving in here on my first draft prospect of the year. And I'm looking at Jared Ivey. Jared Ivey out of Ole Miss. He's 6'6", 285 pounds, runs a 4.7 40. This is the kind of guy that Brad Holmes salivates over. This is a guy that you could probably get in the second round if you play your cards right, obviously depending on the combine and different things like that. But this is a guy who's projected in the second round. This is a guy who had 7 sacks in 12 games at Ole Miss in 2024. Had a couple pass defenses as well, so you can see him move out there. Likes to get his big, meaty paws up there and knock some balls down. In 2023 at Ole Miss, he had 5.5 sacks. He's got double-digit tackles for loss in the past 2 years at Ole Miss. He is that complete piece on the edge that they like to put opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. You saw them go after a Marcus Davenport who plays a similar style. You know they love Josh Pascal who plays a similar style. They like to put guys out there that aren't liabilities. They like these big-body Benzes out there that can do everything. That can rush the passer, that can play the run, and that can set the edge. These are all things that they're going to be looking for when they try to draft an edge. And they're going to draft an edge. They're going to get defensive line help. Whether it comes in a trade, whether it comes to the draft, the smart money's on the draft. And this is a guy, Jared Ivey, that I am very intrigued with. Like I said, you know they don't just like the speed guys. You know they don't just like the James Houstons out there. These guys need to do a lot of different things. With the addition of Casey Rogers as their new defensive line coach, this is a guy who likes to get a little freaky with his big boys. Likes to move them around, likes to put guys on the outside, likes to put guys on the inside, bounce back his defensive ends into coverage and different looks. He likes to get a little freaky and a little different with his looks and with his pressures, especially on that defensive line. And a guy like Jared Ivey fits that perfectly. We talk about it all the time. You hear me say it on Woodward Sports all the time. What do Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, and this regime value the most out of their players? Is versatility. If you can do multiple different things, if you can fill multiple different holes, that just provides you more worth to them as a player. If you can play inside as well as playing outside, that provides you more worth to them as a player. That's why they like guys like Levi Onwuzurike that we've seen get snaps at edge and in the interior. That's why they drafted a guy like Mekhi Wingo that is good on the edge and can play in the interior. They brought in a John Kaminsky. They brought in a Pat O'Connor. They like using Zadarius Smith on the inside rush, as well as Aiden Hutchinson gets moved around in the inside and outside looks as well. I think this guy, Jared Ivey, just screams Brad Holmes guy. I truly do. Like I said, 6'6", 285 pounds, and he's got a 4.7 40. Now, he's not just this big monster of a man out there. He's got a good bend to him, too. Pause. He goes out there, and you can see him set the edge. He's got quick hands, helping him fight off blocks both in the pass and run game. I think he is one of the more complete edges coming out of this draft. Not just what you do to get to the quarterback, but how you can stay on the field in rundowns as well in the NFL. And when you're going up against these big NFL tackles, guys that are out there 6'7", 6'6", 6'5", 300, 320 pounds, you're going to need a little more meat on you. And that's what he's got. Pause again. Jared Ivey, 6'6", 285. You should watch the film of this man. I'm telling you, he can hold the player out on the edge, hold the tackle out on the edge, make sure he contains the running back, and then quickly and violently with his hands either get inside or get outside to make the stop in the run game or get after the quarterback. This guy is going to just amaze Lions scouts. I already know that. I mean, they're already obviously doing all of their due diligence in looking after guys like this, but I'm sure he stands out on tape for what he can do in both facets of that edge position. We know the most important thing at the edge outside of getting to the quarterback is keeping the contain and making sure the running back doesn't get that edge and make big plays out on the corner. This is a guy who's going to immediately step into the NFL, be able to use his physicality, be able to use his size and his pure strength to go up against NFL tackles. He's been in the SEC for a couple of years now. He started at Georgia Tech, went to Ole Miss. These aren't, Toledo tackles that he's going up against. These aren't, Western Michigan tackles that he's going up against. These are SEC tackles. These are the 5-star recruits. These are the Bamas, the Texases. These are the guys, the Georgias, the guys he's going up against. Watch his tape. You're going to love him. Like I said, not just a run stopper. He also can get to the quarterback very well for his size. He's got good bend coming off of that edge, and the way he uses his hands violently and aggressively to stop tackles from getting into him and putting him in the dirt impressed me. Jared Ivey is a player that I look at that the Lions could go after in the late first round or the early second round. Like I said, we all know they need more defensive line help. Now, best case scenario, they get a Myles Garrett. Best case scenario, they trade for Max Crosby and you have the best pass rushing duo in the NFL. But more than likely, they're going to target multiple players in this draft to fill some of the holes. Because we talk about these guys they're losing. Levi Onwuzurike, he's probably out of here. Josh Pascal on the last year of his deal coming up next season. You've got a guy like Pat O'Connor you make a decision on. You got a guy like John Kaminsky you got to make a decision on. Al-Quadin Muhammad you got to make a decision on. These are all guys that contracts add up. And when you're paying the Penei Sewells, the Amon-Ra St. Browns, the Jared Goffs, the Kirby Josephs, all these guys that deserve their money, you're going to have to cut bait with some of the guys that you'd like to keep. And unfortunately, a guy like Levi Onwuzurike could be a cap casualty in this. And what you do to replenish that depth, to replenish these pieces, is continue to add them in the draft. And I think defensive line is the area of need. I think offensive line is as well, but you could get offensive linemen to fill in at any round. You look at Christian Mahogany. He is a 6th-round pick. And that guy's probably going to be your starting guard next year. I think you need to attack defensive line early. I think you need to reload those defensive trenches early. Give Aiden Hutchinson, give those guys some more people to work with. Give Casey Rogers a menagerie of players for him to get a little freaky with out there. Now, whether he is dipping off and playing in coverage that Casey Rogers likes to do, setting the edge, or getting after the quarterback, I believe Jared Ivey is a good choice for the Detroit Lions to go after in this draft. Still very early in my process. Still don't want to think it's real that we're already worrying about draft prospects, but we are. And we know how the season ended. Those injuries really caught up. That defensive line was getting worn down, beaten, and abused. You need this kind of depth. You need these guys that can come in here, and if someone goes down, he can play inside. If someone goes down, he can play outside. There's no spot he can't fill on that defensive line. I think he will be a great player in his first year. I think he would be an important part to Casey Rogers' defensive scheme and game plan going forward. Jared Ivey out of Ole Miss is a player I'm looking at for the Detroit Lions to grab to fill some of those needs on defensive line. Like I said, he might not even be your first-round pick. You could possibly get him in the second round. This guy's a monster of a man. He does everything well on the defensive line, and his versatility is going to be extremely attractive to Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. So we appreciate y'all watching. Make sure you smash that like button. I'm going to have more of these coming up as I deep dive into these prospects and guys that I expect the Lions to go after. Unfortunately, that's what it is now. Draft season is upon us. I told myself I was going to wait until after the Super Bowl to start doing it, and it just made me more sad because I didn't even get to watch the Lions in the Super Bowl. But now it's time to get those gears turning. It's time to look at these guys that the Lions could be targeting, and I think defensive line is something they're going to be targeting. I don't think that's going out on a limb here. So I'm going to have more of these for you guys coming, but Jared Ivey, keep your eye on him. Go watch some film. That's the type of guy that Brad Holmes likes. That's the type of guy I like too. Smash that like button. Appreciate you tapping into Lions Nation Unite. Make sure you subscribe and like. We're going to be bringing you guys a lot of off-season content here, so make sure you stay tuned with us all year rolling into the new season for the Detroit Lions. Appreciate you tapping. Spencer Raxter. I'll see you guys later. Peace.